Good morning, class. Last time we were doing major landforms of the earth, and though this chapter is not included, but we will still do it for our knowledge sake. Now we come on to today, the new heading, Importance of Mountains. Now, why are mountains important? Yesterday we learnt about the major landforms, they being mountains, plateaus, and plains. And when we took up the heading of mountains, we talked about the various types of mountains, such as fold mountains, we talked of block mountains, and we talked of volcanic mountains, giving examples of various kinds. Like for the fold mountains, we talked of the Himalayas, the Alps, the Rockies, the Andes. When we talked of block mountains, we talked of Black Forest in Germany, the Vosges in France, the Sierra Nevada in California, etc. Then when we talked of volcanic mountains, we also gave examples of Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, Fujiyama in Japan, and Cotopaxi in South America, being some of the prominent volcanic mountains. Then now we come on to importance of mountains. The mountains are useful in many ways. Now, the one being mountains are a storehouse of water, as many rivers have their source in the glaciers in the mountains. Now, since most of the mountains are high peaked and they are most of the times snow covered, so they are a constant and regular source of water supply and a medium of rivers. So many rivers, most of the rivers, they originate from the mountains. Then there are moving glaciers. What are glaciers? Glaciers are the thick block of snow or ice which move down to the from the mountains to the lower parts. The second use and importance of mountains is water from the mountains is also used for irrigation and generation of hydroelectricity. Now, water, which is a source, which is a major source through mountains, it is also used not only for irrigation but also for generating the electricity, and the electricity which is generated from water is known as hydroelectricity. Then we talk of the river valleys and terraces are ideal for the cultivation of crops. Now, the rivers, as they move down, they come to the valley area. Now, what is a valley area? The place where two hills meet, the end points of the mountains or hills is known as valley. So obviously it's a flat land. Most of the time the rivers flow through this area and they are the ideal places for cultivation of crops. Why? Because they give immense supply of water and they are very fertile, which is good for growing of crops. Number 4, mountains have a rich variety of flora and fauna. What is flora? It is the vegetation or the greenery there. What is fauna? It is the animal life which is bred in the mountains. So mountains are a great source of plant and animal life. Then number 5, the forests provide fuel, fodder, shelter, and other products like gum and resin. So these are the byproducts which the forests in the mountains they give us. Number 6, they provide ideal site for tourists. Most of you very well know that most of the hill stations are a popular tourist centers. Maybe a hill station in Shimla, Mussoorie, Darjeeling, Kulu Manali. Now all these hill stations are situated in these hills or mountains which attract the tourists. Number 7, several sports like paragliding, hand gliding, river rafting, and skiing are popular in the mountains. You all know of the many of the sports which are conducted on the hills and mountains, and these are the popular sports which they encourage. Next, we come on to the other physical landform, the other physical feature, that is a plateau or plateaus. Now, the plateaus are high lands with a broad and more or less flat surface. So they have a broad and flat surface. They nearly always rise abruptly above the surrounding country on at least one side. That is why plateaus are also called tablelands. So basically, a plateau is a raised table kind of land. A land is simply like this, and then all of a sudden there's a rise, and this is something which is called a plateau. It's a flat land and broad it is with steep and tapering sides. So it's a tableland. They are generally higher than plains. Some plateaus are very large and extend over thousands of kilometers, like the Deccan Plateau in India. Now we all know that Deccan Plateau is this region. You can all see here, this whole region is a Deccan Plateau region. It's a raised platform region. Yeah? Okay. Next we come on to almost every continent, namely Africa, Asia, Australia, and South America, has plateaus. Plateaus are classified as intermontane plateaus, Piedmont Plateaus, continental plateaus. So these are the three headings. You need to know their names very nicely and properly and accurately. These are the three varieties which are nearly found in every continent. Now the first is intermontane plateaus. Let us read it out. These plateaus are associated with mountains and are partly or completely surrounded by them. These are the highest and the largest plateaus of the world, like the Plateau of Tibet, known as Roof of the World, is over 4,500 meters high. The plateau of Bolivia, Peru, Mexico, etc. are other high plateaus of the world. So intermontane plateaus, basically, as the word tells you, they are surrounded by mountains. As the word tell you, montane, so they are risen, they are nearly associated, they are either partly or completely surrounded by the chain of mountains. Okay. Next we come on to Piedmont Plateaus. Now what are Piedmont Plateaus? Such type of plateaus lie between mountain ranges on one side and plains or seas on the other side. For example, Colorado Plateau lies between the Rockies and the Range Province. So now Piedmont Plateaus, they are, as the name tells you, on one side they are surrounded by a mountain, whereas on the other side they slide towards the plain area. There could be a plain next to the plateau, or there could be a sea next to the plateau on the other side. So such plateaus are called Piedmont Plateaus. Next, the third is Continental Plateau. Now these are tablelands and rise abruptly from the lowlands or the sea. For example, the plateau of South Africa or the Deccan Plateau, etc. So please see this. The Deccan Plateau in India is basically an example of a continental plateau. Continental, that means Asia is one continent, a part of it is India. India is a thank you. Thank you for sending me heart. India is a part of that continent, Asia. So it's a continental plateau which has abruptly grown up and has risen, and it is on the lowlands surrounded area, or it is also next to the sea. You can see this. It is next to the sea. This side it is Arabian Sea, and on the other Bay of Bengal. Now they are talking about importance of plateaus. What are the importance? Now, first is they are rich in mineral deposits. So many of the mining areas in the world are located in the plateau areas. Please note it and remember it. Most of our mineral supply, even in India, we get it from these plateau regions, and these plateaus are rich in mineral deposits. Then number two, several waterfalls are found in the plateau areas. For example, the Hundru Falls in the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Now let me tell you the location of Chota Nagpur. This is the location of Chota Nagpur Plateau. And the plateau, a river flowing here, will definitely have a waterfall here. So in a plateau region, most of the rivers, when they are reaching to the sea or to the ocean, they come across and fall down as big, huge waterfalls. Okay, jharna jise kehte hain na, like that. So they are the very important source for this. Then number three, they support grazing and forestry. That means plateau regions are also grazing grounds for animals, where the animals could find their fodder, and forestry, that means for forest area. Now, the third variety of landform which we see on Earth are the plains, that is the flat land. And if you see the map of India, we have fertile northern plains. This whole area is a fertile area. And can you see this area? Can you see the boundaries? Western coastal plains and eastern coastal plains. As the word tells you, western side है तो western, coast की side है इसलिए coastal, and plain area है, that is why they are called plains. Eastern, coastal, next to the sea, plains. Yeah. So now we talk of plains. A plain is the level surface of land at a low elevation from the sea. The plains are the widespread landforms of the earth. The interiors of most of the continents are occupied by the plains. That means most of the continents in the interior sides, they are plains. That means flat lands. Most of the plains are formed by rivers. Now, obviously, the rivers flowing from high mountain peaks, when they fall down to the peak, from the peak to the lower bottoms of the mountains, they gradually make the whole area flat and a plain area. That is why most of the plains have rivers and they are formed by the rivers. Some plains are extremely level, others may be slightly rolling and undulating. Undulating means uneven. Most of the time, it is seen that the plains are always a plain kind of a structure, big, huge land, plain. But there are some which are rolling and undulating. That means वो एक और हल्का सा झुके होते हैं, so that the rivers flow in that direction. Now the plains are formed both by internal and external forces. Most of the plains are formed by the sediments deposited by the rivers. The rivers are the external forces. They are making the sediment deposition. They bring along with them the rocks and sediments from the mountains, and these sediments and rocks get accumulated in the plains. They get deposited in the plains area, so that they result in external force, okay, changes. Now the rivers carry stones, sand, and silt. When the speed of the river is reduced, it deposits these materials in the valleys. The plains are more thickly populated than the mountains and the plateaus. Why? Because they have a rich supply of water in the form of rivers. Then they also have a rich soil fertility. Why? Because the rivers along with them bring rich alluvial soil, and thus making the place very, very fertile for the plant growth and for the subsistence of agriculture. And since there is food available, there is water available, so obviously plains would be thickly populated. Then we come on to the important plains are, now let us talk about some examples. The important plains are the plains, the Gangetic plains in India, the prairies in USA, the Hongho plain in China. So these are the names of some plains. Then they give you the importance of plains. Why are plains important? They are most useful areas for human habitation. Any human habitation is easily possible because of the plains. If the land is flat, you will definitely live and build up your habitat there. Then number two, they are thickly populated as more flat land is available for building houses and for cultivation. So definitely the favorable conditions are for building houses and for cultivation and agriculture, and irrigation is easily available. So that is the reason why they are thickly populated. Third point, these are made up of fertile soils, so the land is highly productive for cultivation. As I told you, the rivers bring a rich supply of alluvial soil, making the land fertile, good for growing crops. So there is high productivity and good for agriculture and cultivation. Landforms and the people. Now, different type of landforms and what is the approach of the humans. Let us see. Humans have been living on different kinds of landforms in different ways. Life is difficult in mountainous areas. The plains provide much better conditions. It is easy to grow crops, build a house or a road in a plain than in a mountain. Can you point out some differences in the ways people live on different kinds of landforms? You may notice from your own surroundings in how many ways we use the land and water. Quite often, we use the land in a wrong way. For example, building are constructed over fertile land. We throw garbage on land or into water, making them dirty. We should avoid using such important gifts of nature in a careless manner. The available land is not only for our use, it is our duty to leave the earth a better place for future generation as well. So here they are talking about people, how people have been uh, unaware and have been not using the means and resources wisely, and they have resulted in many a times making this naturally beautiful planet into a uh, dustbin or a garbage area by throwing carelessly their waste in and around the land and in rivers. Then they are talking about that humans have found easily to settle down near the plains than to live on mountains or on plateaus. So, in this way, the basic need of a man is fulfilled through the landforms. And in the end, they tell us that to have a better future, we need to give and leave our planet in a proper and natural way without destroying it. In this way, the future generations who will come over after us will find Earth a better place to live in. I hope I'm clear till here.